What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of The Three View. Today, we are joined by Maine Nordiques head coach Dylan Farrell-Reny. How's it going today?
Doing well. How are you?
Good, thanks. And welcome to the NA3HL. We'll kind of just jump right on into things. So, like I said, this will be your first year in the league. Talk about how you originally came to the Nordiques program coming from AAA.
Sure. So I actually started here 5 years ago as an intern with Matt Pinchevsky. He gave me a opportunity to work with him in the program. I was still chasing the dream of playing minor pro, and I had wanted to get into coaching. Loved it. Loved being around the sport that did so much for me. Had the opportunity to work in hand with one of my best friends, Nick Skerlick, which we stayed connected for quite some time. And then a couple years down the road, like I said, I was still chasing the dream. Decided to hang him up, reached out to Pinch, and he helped me get a opportunity in New Hampshire. Did really well over there. Had a great time with Chris Sorella and the New Hampshire Avalanche. I reached out to Skirls and got the opportunity to originally be the director of player personnel and head coach of the 18s and 16s over at the Nordiques Academy. But then the spot opened up to be the GM and head coach of the NA3 team. So I jumped on board.
Nice. And what kind of excites you most about this opportunity, getting to take the reins of this program?
Kind of like I said, just giving back to the sport that did so much for me. The kids that we have coming in is a really special group. Just being able to work under Nick Skerlick and grow professionally and growing the resume as a coach. I think it's a really good level to start at. I played at this level. There's a lot of really good athletes in this league. Having the opportunity of being right under the NA umbrella. It really works with that ladder of success, and I'm just really excited to be a small part of a bigger thing for the kids that are going in to this level and trying to compete into a tier 2 roster spot.
And although you weren't with the team last year, let's kind of look at last year's roster. The Nordiques had the youngest roster in the entire NA3HL. Have you had a chance to kind of look at some of those players? And are there any that stick out to you that you plan on returning to this year's team?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, Foster Marsh, he's coming back as my captain. The kid's the epitome of a leader. He works really hard, has a great attitude. I think being a captain, being an extension of the coaching staff, is a really heavy role to take on. A lot of the kids that played last year aren't returning. I kind of went on a national hunt, if you should say, for recruitment, and I'm very pleased with what we have so far. Bringing back Griffin Hardwick, who will also be one of the captains on the team. I think he did very well through the course of the season and his development, which is really important to me, especially at this level, is development. Seeing that kids are coachable and able to develop their craft is really big for me. How they are as teammates in the locker room for the culture of the team is huge. So I was really excited to bring those two back for sure. Have a couple other kids that are on the wire right now. We did re-sign Aiden Linville, goaltender. I'm really excited to see what he's going to do this year. Last year, we obtained the rights of Tyler Miller from Helena.
Mhm.
Very excited to have him. Great goaltender, works really hard. So I'm really excited for those guys to come back. Have a couple others I can't really talk about right now, but they'll be here, and it's gonna be a really solid roster this year. Have a couple local kids that did really well at the AAA level, and also in their high schools. So I'm really excited to kind of bring that element in here. Kind of have a little bit of local talent come in, play for the hometown team. I think that's really fun. But I did a really big hunt on, bringing in new kids. So it's going to be a totally different team this year, which
Mhm.
is really, really exciting for me. And allows me to kind of work under Skirls and what we're trying to implement here at the Nordiques.
And when you talk about these new players that you're bringing in, what is the most important asset that they have that stuck out to you that, made you want to sign them to this team?
honestly, I noticed it as a player and now as a coach more than ever, just who they are as human beings.
Hmm.
Being good people off the ice, like you can work on your skill and your craft all day long, but you can't change being a good person, right? And if you're coachable and you come from a good family and you're a good person, a good human being, that really excites me to be able to work with these kids. And a lot of the kids that I went out and grabbed for our team are just really good down to earth people. They come from really good families. They represent their family name very well. I think they're going to represent the crest amazing. So, and then, the last thing is their skill, right? I mean, a lot of kids that I brought over are very good. One in particular I've coached for 2 years now. He plays for Team Great Britain. He's a very solid player. He's right on the cusp of the NA, and that's what's important to me is being able to move these kids on to free to play hockey. We had a couple kids in our program last year that were in AAA that are coming to jump ship to play in the NA3, which I think is fantastic. They're a little younger, but they're very solid players, and I think this will be a really good opportunity and growth for their development this year by having them come and play at a higher level. So I'm really excited for that. Like I said, I went on a manhunt, got a couple really good imports, just shaping up the team really well to kind of mold around that culture of what Skurls and I are looking for.
And you just mentioned Nick Skerlick yourself. How do you plan on having these players kind of develop and get ready for the NA level, especially with the fact that you guys have the NA program kind of within the same building as you?
Well, that's like the biggest thing, right? Like that's a really big selling point for a lot of these kids because when you talk to these kids, you ask them when they hear junior hockey, what do they think about? And it's the USHL and the North American League. Nick is one of the things I love about Skurls the most is the fact that he is a growth from within, a promote from within type of guy. He really invests and buys into all of his players, not just the 25 on the NA roster, the 25 that are on the NA3 as well. And he really takes care of his guys. And that's something I really admire and idolize as a guy at his caliber. He's a very successful coach, and him and I, and the way that I coach, we're very similar. So being able to be on that same level with him is going to allow these kids to reach that ladder a lot faster. What we're implementing here this year is the ability to, be around the NA team more with these kids so that they can see what it takes. I mean, having guys like Wade Weil, who, committed to the, University of Maine, and we got a couple kids that are also committed to Yale and stuff like that. It's guys like that will shape these younger kids to see what it takes to get to that next level. And that will really help our ladder of success here in progress.
Absolutely. And it's such a unique experience for players for your organization having to be around the NA team on a daily basis.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think, when you talk about team identity and team culture, it starts from the top team and the guys. And honestly, the one thing I loved about the group last year, I mean, I came in kind of late, but they were really close with a lot of the guys in the NA3. They weren't walking around puffed out like they're the best thing in the world. They were really just kind of one big family. And I loved seeing that. And I think that that's really important in the role of development. And a lot, one of the things I tell all the kids that I recruit and the kids that I'm coaching is, and you'll hear me say it a lot, is development, right? This league is all about development. I think the NA3 is a very good tier 3 league that helps with development. And when you get those right kids in the right program, getting that step to the NA, it makes it a lot more achievable. And I think that's really important. So I love the fact that, I'm right under Nick Skerlick. I love the fact that these kids have that opportunity every day to kind of be under his nose and he gets to kind of, evaluate them all year long.
Mhm.
So
And as we flip to this upcoming season, last year the team did miss the playoffs. So, what do you think is the biggest change that you need to make in order to qualify for the Fraser Cup playoffs this season?
it's a great question. Honestly, I think at first it's just the buy-in from day one. Like I told you before, the culture and the kids that we have coming in are the kids that you don't even have to ask to buy in. They're ready to go. I
Mhm.
mean, they're itching at it right now to get on the ice and start ripping. And I think that that's huge. I think the structure that I'm going to be implementing for the team, in practice, off the ice, in the community. It's going to all follow suit for us to be one of the top teams in our division and hopefully win our division. I mean, we had a really, young team, like you said, last year. Obviously I wasn't here for it, but my goal this year is to develop all these kids. And when you do it the right way, wins come along. I'm a coach that really wants to win. I think that's why Skerlick hired me. I really want to win. I want to implement what we need to do to make that happen.
Mhm.
And I know the group of kids that we have coming in are kids that want to win. And, it's a non-negotiable. It really is. The culture we have providing here and the kids we have coming in, it's a non-negotiable to make the playoffs. And I know the teams in our division, they're very good teams. It's going to be a very tough schedule for us, but I'm really excited for the challenge. And I think our guys have what it takes to answer the bell.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for giving us some insight into the Nordiques program for this upcoming year, and good luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, Brittany.